Today I will show you how to draw shape for clients that have really low natural brows, for example for her, and how to be able to keep majority of the natural as well as giving the client a little lift. So I will show you what to do to lift up this tail. Okay, so to start, wind the thread around your index fingers here to secure it. Keep your other fingers free because we will be using the middle finger in a little bit. And then we will start lining up the brows with the client sitting up. Okay, point 4, finding the point 1, the thickness of the brow, and the arch. This is the part where you'll be using the middle finger right here. Line the thread up, find that midline, use the middle finger, press in. Okay, and that's your midline right here. Point 1 and 2, find the distance of the eye. Chị mở mắt giùm em chị. Rồi, nhắm mắt lại. Putting this in. Line this up. And with the midline, so this will be the point, the starting of the brow. And the starting of the brow. To make sure that they match, this is where I'll be using this caliper right here, just to confirm and make sure the distance on both sides are equal with each other. So now you have point 1 and 4. Removing the middle hand. Put this over. Wind the end of the brow. Going from corner of the nose, corner of the mouth to the tail. So now we know that the brow should be in here. This is the important part. She has pretty full, thick brow. I'm only using her as a model and as an example. Okay. I know some of you may be questioning, like, why are we taking part of her brow or anything like that. I just want to make a point of where you find that bone and how to raise it in a way, especially for clients that have no brows at all. So if you feel this bone, put your pencil right here and you can feel that ridge where the bone stops your pencil. This is where the tail of the brow should be. Now noticing how the brow, the angle of your tail should point to. If you're going with her natural, which is curving down this way, you will notice that the pencil, you see the direction of it, pointing down to her earlobe. So if it's pointing down to her earlobe, that means this is pretty low. The goal is try to have the tail pointing to the upper half of the ear. From here up, that would be more ideal, and that will give the client more of a lift. So if you go like this and have your pencil pointing out this way, it's not too far from her natural, but it will give her a lift like that, okay? So draw a line there. That will determine the point 3. And you see that still staying along with her natural, pretty close to her natural there. So now we have point 1, 4, and 3. Now we'll be using the compass to determine where the point 2 should be. So this is your point 2, this is where the arc is, and this is where point 5 is. I just want to point out to you that when drawing this line back here, if you lay down your pencil like this sideways, the line will be pretty thick, but the goal is to try to make it as thin as possible. So I'm going to actually take this off, redo it, and make sure that my line is nice and thin. From all other previous practices on paper and on latex skin, you realize how a small line or difference in the thickness of a line could make to your shape. So you want to make sure that your line, before you start your microblading work, has to be very thin. Okay. So now that we have the point 3, now that we have all this point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, on live models you don't have to determine point 6. So now that you have those, I usually don't use the compass from the other side. What I use is I use the caliper and to get that measurement. Okay. I feel that with this right here, when I was a student, I feel that by doing this, it gives me a little bit more of an accuracy. I noticed that on clients that have makeup on or that they are oily, my compass tend to slide, and I always get some of an inaccuracy when I draw the brows. So I feel that this caliper helps me a lot. So I'm just sharing my experience with you, sharing my struggle, both as a student and some of you may like what I'm showing you, some of you may disagree, but this video is only just to share. If you find it helpful, that's great, and that's what I hope for. Okay. So then I use the caliper, measuring the distance from the eyelid, the end of the eye to the tail. Notice I'm using this side instead, because if I use this side, this will be pointing inward and it may poke the eye. So that's why I turn it around and I use this side, because it's curving out. Then I'd be turning on this side, finding that same measurement and match it and bring it over here. Okay, so now that we have those, okay, now that we got all of our points, we're going to go back using the string. Especially those of you who have tried to shape on live models, you know that finding the line point 1 to point 2 is really hard because you always tend to make it either too thick or curving it upward instead of giving that V shape that you're trying to achieve. So with this string, it will give you a guide. And then you can also go in from 2 to 3. And then 4 to 5 would be a parallel line to the top line that we just did. However, as with approaching the tail, make sure that the shape getting thinner and thinner. Okay, it shouldn't be getting bigger. Then over here, match it as well. One, 2, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6. So now that we have those lines, all you have to do is try not to get this pointy edge at the top where the point 2 should be. So just all you have to do is just round that edge a little, and then kind of trace and slightly go under the line that you just created with the thread. As you're reaching point 5, starting to go above the line, keep your pencil up and end at the point 6. And if this line is good, you don't need to retrace it, or you can just to make it slightly darker. I need to sharpen my pencil. Okay, yeah. Then all you have to do is just gently round the corner so that the client doesn't have a sharp corner here. Just round it. And if you already have a dark pencil line, keep your pencil straight up and very sharp. Sharpen it so that it's really thin, so that you have a thin line. And then from 4 to 5, you can just go slightly under the thread line, just to kind of retracing it. And then from 5 to 6 is when you go slightly on the other side of your thread line. Make sure that the skin is stretched really tight. So you can have a thin, sharp line. Once you get the majority of the shape that you like, clean up any of the line that you drawn that you feel that is thick, clean it up so that it's nice and thin. Any hair that is protruding out like this, before you shave that off, always consult with the client, make sure that they are okay with the shape. As long as they like it about 80% of it, then you can start shaving that off. Then finalize the little small details. You know, adding a little part here, round it here slightly, things like that, but minor things. But before you do that, finalize the shape, make sure that you consult with the client before you take off any extra hair outside of shape. Okay. Okay. Clean up any line, make sure it's nice and thin before you show the client the eyebrow that you've drawn. And again, just to make sure that you are not taking out the natural hair off of the client yet until the client get to see their brows. But now that you noticed that the tail, even though we're keeping the majority of the client's eyebrow, but we're able to lift it up so that now it's pointing to the upper half of the ear. Okay, and that will give the client a little lift instead of a more droopy curved brow that she had earlier, and still keeping it pretty much all the natural that she has there. We just thin the tail down a little bit. Okay, all right, thanks for watching, and I hope that you find this video helpful. If there's anything that I can do to help you a little more, just let me know. Thank you.